Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel where we talk all things real estate. My name is Alyssa Estes and I'm a licensed realtor in the state of Georgia. So today we are going to hop on Reddit and we are going to look at people's stories, whether they're agents, buyers, sellers, whatever we find. We're gonna look at some of the best stories on there, talking about what happened in a real estate transaction. So we are going to jump on in. It looks like the first one we have is from the agent's perspective, and they have listed their worst listing story and their worst buyer story. So let's get into it. First, with the worst listing. Selling a house for a divorcing couple. That can go really smooth or really bad, and I'm guessing it's gonna go really bad. Was my first listing in real estate in 2006, right before the market crashed. The first one. Every week it was on market, one of them would do something destructive to the house. After it went under contract, the husband got drunk and did donuts in the front and backyard and shredded almost every blade of grass. Who does that help? If you don't sell the house, you're stuck together longer. At the closing table, we had to physically separate the two of them. It was vicious from beginning to end. Okay, I'm glad she noted that, because if you are ever uncomfortable, talk to your agent and they will get with the closing attorney, and you can usually sign in separate spaces. So if you're a buyer and you don't like the seller, or in this situation, they can usually at least try to make accommodations for that. So make sure you talk with them if you're just uncomfortable and don't want to be in the same room as somebody in the transaction. Especially in the state of Georgia, we are a closing attorney state, so we can make those accommodations, or we can at least try to. So talk to your agent about that. The next story is by the same agent, and this is their worst buyer story. Was super shady the whole time we were looking for houses. Something was off about him, but his wife and kids were super excited and sweet, so it kind of balanced him out in my eyes. Finally found them a new construction house. As we were doing the home inspection, he told me he didn't want the lender to do a verification of employment because he was using a per diem as his stated income and didn't want his employer to find out he was buying a home locally and use his per diem. I told the loan officer what he told me. We were able to work past it eventually. Day of closing, loan officer called me right before we were headed in. They'd pulled credit again. He'd bought a car. He had everything he owned in a moving van, and someone else had already rented his apartment. I paid out of pocket for storage for their things for a month and had a personal conversation with the property manager and got them into another apartment just because I couldn't stand the thought of the kids having to suffer, and then walked away from them. He called me about 6 months later wanting me to help him again, and I did not return his call. If I could tell one thing to buyers, I think it would be that. Do not make a big purchase using a credit card before you close on a house, because you may not be able to close on a house after that. Just promise me you won't do it, okay? Our next story is from a different agent. So it looks like this person was the seller's agent, and it says, buyer's agent sending me a picture of her torso, which has electric leads attached. It was proof that she's too busy doing her annual physical to respond to emails that day. The picture is burned into my memory. Unfortunately, I cannot erase it. I guess she did not want to be considered lazy, so she sent that over. She said, I'm gonna prove it. Wow. Next reads, had a client get under contract multiple times, always backing out on home inspection, which obviously you can do during your due diligence period. You can get your home inspected, and then if you don't like the results, you can back out as long as it's in the due diligence period and get your earnest money back. So it sounds like this lady kept going under contract, and then every inspection she'd then back out. I wonder how many times that happened. That's got to be frustrating. She was generally a pain. I would have dumped her sooner, but she came from a former client referral, and I absolutely adore that guy. Turns out her reason for going through the process multiple times is because she had a crush on the home inspector. He finally called me and told me she was reaching out to him at night and crossed the line into uncomfortable territory, and that he wouldn't be able to perform any more inspections for her. Oh, we gotta end on that one. That's wild. If only she had the initiative to close on a house the way she was pursuing that man. I think what we've learned from today is if you need to be separated from anybody in the transaction, just talk to your agent about it. Do not make a big purchase before closing on a house. Don't destroy your property. And agents, you don't have to send a picture of your torso to prove that you're busy. And also agents, I guess don't be afraid to walk away, especially if your client is making somebody else uncomfortable. We gotta look out for our community. Okay. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.